Hello, everyone at Yahoo. I am Sandy, and today I'm talking with Amy, and we're having a great conversation that we'd like you all to participate in with us about transgender rights and the important time we're in the country. So let's get right into it.
All right.
Amy, thanks for talking with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So this is an incredibly significant, amazing, and transformational time for our company, our country, and the world as we stand up and make our voices heard for transgender rights and equality. And more than that, we're making a statement about the difference in people, the authenticity that people should live with, and how that's everyone's right, and that's everyone's superpower that we should always be celebrating. So I'm excited that you're talking with us about that today. And I thought I'd start by just asking you a question, which is, what is this experience like, and how do you feel right now about everything that's going on?
At the moment, I feel actually really good about everything that's going on.
Cool.
My transition in general was extremely well received all throughout the country, and
Nice.
I'm very proud to, I guess, live here in this time, and I'm very thankful to all the people who came before and did a ton of the civil rights like legwork
Yep.
because like you said, this time is very transformative, and I
Right.
think the rapid, pace of change, like it seems like each time something happens, it gets faster and faster because people catch on
Yep.
to the general idea of authenticity. And I'm very proud of everyone in my life and that I've met because very, very few people have let me down
That's
in this
awesome.
way.
That's awesome. That's a great story to hear. What's it like to be transgender at Yahoo?
Well, it's great for two reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, it's great because I never think about it, and that's a huge thing. Like, I'm not trans at Yahoo, I'm Amy at Yahoo. Yeah,
And
so the best part is I get to work every day and forget that I'm transitioning and just work as Amy. And that is extremely meaningful to work in an industry where no one bats an eye. In
Yep.
fact, let me tell you, I interviewed as this company as someone else,
Right.
so to speak, and I had to give them a call because I reached this conclusion halfway between my start date and my final interview,
Yep.
and so I gave him a call and I was thinking, I had this whole thing prepared in my head to explain. And I said, hey, I know I interviewed as Eric, but I'm going to be coming to work as Amy. And the recruiter at the time said, oh, okay, no problem. Did you have your name changed yet? And I said, no, not legally. I'm still working on it. And he goes, okay, well, let me know when you've done and we'll have you re-sign some forms. And I'm like, okay. He's like, anything else? And I'm like, no. He's like, you still starting in June? Yeah. All right, cool. See you then.
That's awesome.
It was a 30-second conversation and it
Yep.
left me stunned on the sidewalk.
I love it.
And that's been the attitude I've seen at Yahoo so far is that nobody bats an eye over it.
Yep.
And secondly, something that I found out is that materially impacts me. That's not just Yahoo's not
Right.
all talk.
Right.
They recently expanded their health benefits to have extremely generous transgender benefits, and that
Yep.
makes a material difference in my life. I'm getting my mustache burned off right now, and that's actually very expensive in addition to time consuming and painful.
Yep.
And being able to take one of those legs off and not have to worry about that cost very meaningfully impacts my life
Yep.
and situation.
I really like the point you made that the way it is at Yahoo and just how people engage you for who you are is allowing you to define who you are as Amy instead of being defined by an experience or process you're going through, right? And I think that's great. What guidance would you give people?
I go to a lot of these events and stuff like that for younger people who are struggling with these issues, and the two pieces of advice I like to give are one, then a lot of times you're at these things and people give you the doom and gloom narrative.
Right.
And it's important for me to go there and give the opposite side and say, hey, actually,
Right.
I've met several people who had, decent or even good coming outs. And so you should know that side too, because there is a cost for people who are afraid, and reasonably so, because sometimes terrible things happen.
Yeah.
Of coming out, but there's
Right.
there's a deep personal cost at that too. And so letting them know like, hey, it might not be as bad as you've heard,
Yep.
right? Like, let me tell you about my school or how my friends and family or everyone I met crossing America to come work at Yahoo and
Yep.
like Nebraska when I look totally like a dude and I'm
Yep.
like, call me Amy, and they're like, okay. Like,
That's great.
and you tell them that and you say like, I can't promise nothing. It's reasonable to be scared. I can't promise nothing terrible will happen to you, but you
Right.
should know that a lot has changed. And
Yep.
like, and because there is a real cost to staying in the closet.
Yep.
The other thing I like to tell people questioning their gender identity or transgender people in general is who are struggling with the question is, if you are struggling with this question, you are probably transgender.
Right.
Because cisgender people do not ask themselves constantly,
Right,
maybe I should have been born a girl.
right,
Maybe I'm actually a guy. Like
right,
it doesn't go through their mind. And that's
right,
not a proper logical implication, but
right.
it's what got me over the fence. And so,
Yep. So finally, in this time, a lot of people are feeling strong and celebrating where we've come from because we've come through a time in the last several years where many rights were pioneered and established, as you talked about, those people that
mhm,
you appreciate and I appreciate who came before us and fought those battles to get us here. But many people right now are concerned and scared and feeling pessimistic because we're fighting challenges yet again and a new wave of them. It's not my sense that you're pessimistic. Why not?
um, I'm not pessimistic because I haven't seen any personal indications that my rights are likely to come under attack.
Hmm.
Um, I've been told by a lot of people that I should feel this way, but I've not had a lot of evidence. I think the closest thing now, most recently, is the revocation of the Title IX
Right,
incorporation against gender identity.
right,
That's a certain indication, but it's not an indication to me of panic because this is an issue that is actually very difficult to understand.
right,
Because most people, like the off-cited figures, like 99.7%, will never experience this. And the people who do are often very confused for very long periods of time about it. It
right.
took me 24 years to figure it out, and I
Yep,
lived it.
yep,
And so having that expectation that someone else should just get it,
yep.
right, is putting a lot on that person. And so for me, the Title IX thing, I understand it. I have a nuanced position actually on the specific language of how it was incorporated. I
Hmm.
see legitimate complaints against the specific language and how it was incorporated
Hmm.
as actually legitimate. But what I'm glad about is that it's an opportunity to actually talk because rights, in a way, are socially negotiated, right? And
Right.
giving that opportunity, the fact, that this high school boy has a platform on the Supreme Court and is really rising to the challenge to say these things and
Hmm.
start this national conversation. It doesn't scare me because that's what needs to happen. You can't make people tolerant through federal like fiat. They need to actually talk about the issue, get the thoughts out of their head so they can see maybe where there's a contradiction or where they have room for improvement and give them that chance to listen to you and you listen to them and negotiate a solution that both of you guys can find acceptable.
Yep.
So I don't see any genuine reason for concern. And I guess the people in my life have always been supportive. So I have a hard time seeing any, I guess, harm coming to me because I'd have to recontextualize the society that I know for that to happen.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's great. That makes a lot of sense to me. And as you talked about that, it made me think about the fact that, sure, I wake up like others every morning, concerned about what's going on and some of the challenges to rights and perspectives there. But I also wake up every morning thinking there are almost 100 million people in the country waking up as I'm waking up, concerned about and wanting to help achieve and drive these rights the way that I want to. And that and the dialogue and the actions that people are taking, how people are activated, the fact that we just all posed for a picture yesterday to stand with
yeah.
Gavin, right? Which companies are doing all over the place. And I'm so proud of Yahoo for leading the way on that. I think those things are encouraging. And I feel like your perspective is the same. I think that your courage and just the strength of conviction you have for how you want to be who you are and how you can lead that, I think is incredibly helpful and it's empowering.
You reminded me at the end of the sort of being inspired thing and authenticity. I'll
Hmm.
say, and I think other trans people feel the same, and perhaps it's the same for you. That once you find the courage to say this truth about yourself that you
Yep.
have no evidence for except for your own conviction
Right.
to other people,
Right.
it it totally emboldens you to see life in a different way.
Yep.
And that's the greatest gift coming out and being transgender has given to me
Yep.
is finding a whole new source of courage that actually I can assert onto the world
Yep.
and I can make a change. And so,
That's awesome. It's beautiful.
yeah.
I love that. Thanks everybody for talking with Amy and I today. And please have many conversations like this because they will change the world. And we'll see you all again soon.